Almond, did I get your name right?
Yes.
Yeah. I just woke up from a nap. Um, Go ahead and tell us what you do in the program.
All right, my name is Ricky Talent, and I actually work for Bradley County Juvenile Court. I got interested in gardening years and years ago, and then I took the Tennessee Master Gardener class. And out of taking this class, we've kind of the court is kind of working hand in hand with the Master Gardeners.
I think that's one of the best programs going right now is to get those juvenile folks that have made a few little mistakes young in their life to get them involved in gardening and something worthwhile. I think that's been a great program. Faith?
Yeah, my name is Faith Sharp. I work full-time at Ooltewah Nursery in Ooltewah. I am the president of the Master Gardeners. I, like Ricky, gardened since I was tiny, and Mom sent me out to the garden to weed in between the tomato plants and all.
It was just part of our life, wasn't it, Faith?
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, sun's going down, let's go.
Not so much fun when we were kids, but I guess I've always had a green thumb, and I grow things that I don't even eat because I want to see them grow from the tiny seed into the plant and into the fruit. And
I enjoy that just to see. I try to grow something different every year. I've got cotton I'm going to try to grow this year. I don't know why.
well,
But I've never grown a cotton plant, so I want to see if I can.
We went to Mississippi in October, and we gathered some bulbs, or whatever you call it, cotton plants, both the dark version and the white version. And we know not to get them close to each other, but we're going to see what we can grow this year. We need to, if we can figure out how to get the seeds out of them.
And one thing I haven't been able to grow, and Faith's going to tell me how before we leave here today, Brussels sprouts. I have grown some of the prettiest plants. I hadn't got a Brussels sprout yet, though, but the plants are beautiful.
yeah, sometimes it'll help if you remove some of those leaves and put some more energy into the fruit.
Yeah.
But I always have better luck with Brussels sprouts in the fall instead of in the spring.
I've tried them both and not had, like I said, got nice plants, but never. Today you'll be able to call us here at 614-5553 and ask questions. Right now, what we're all interested in is, and Faith, you work down at the nursery, and you've been telling us people want to plant their tomato plants this week and pepper plants, and tell them why that's not a good idea.
Tomatoes and peppers, it's just far too early. They both are warm season vegetables, and they won't even do anything until the soil temperatures reach a certain degrees, which is going to be much warmer than the soil temperatures we have right now. The things that we should be thinking about planting, you could start your tomatoes and peppers indoors, sow some seeds in little trays and keep them on the windowsill. But again, the soil temperature has to be optimal for the seeds to even germinate. So a warming tray underneath them, or keeping them in some bright sunlight so the soil temperatures will be warm, is going to be key to those warm season vegetables. We should probably concentrate on the cooler season vegetables this early. Root crops, potatoes, radishes, carrots,
Onions.
You could do some leafy greens as it starts to get warmer, because it's going to take them a week or 10 days to germinate. Hopefully by then we will be a little bit closer to not being frosted. Broccoli and cauliflower can take some frost. Like you mentioned, Brussels sprouts can take some frost without having any serious damage. So it's okay to do some of those cool season vegetables if you've got itching to get out there into the garden.
What about my flowers that are coming up now? My little bulbs.
Well, you daffodils, and you've got some
boy, they're
irises.
hardy, aren't they?
They're very hard. they can bloom with snow on their little heads. So
I do remember in the storm of '93 that when the snow started to melt, it melted down so far, and our little, I call them buttercups, were sitting up on top of the snow that they had bloomed before the blizzard, and just to look perfectly preserved.
That blizzard was like March 15th, 1993. So
13th.
The winter may not be over.
Only Mother Nature knows that.
Yes. And we've seen that different. Deb says it's, you know that you live in Tennessee when you have in your washing machine long johns and shorts.
Welcome to Tennessee.
In the same load.
Every week of the year.
So the cold weather crops, you're talking about, anything that's a root crop. And a root crop is like onions, things that grow, the fruit grows in the ground, basically.
Yeah.
It's actually not a fruit.
Yeah, the ground will insulate it some, and then there's those things that you can start a little early. There's some early snow peas that you can start kind of early. There's some greens that you can do kind of early, and the broccolis, cauliflowers, some cabbages that you can get started earlier. They can take a little bit of
Now
cold temperatures at night.
I planted garlic late last year, like you're supposed to, and it started coming up. It's been coming up during the winter. Now this extreme cold's not going to hurt those. They did notice that they did get a little weaker looking during all this cold weather, but they're still going to come back. Yeah. But they're still going to come back up, right?
Oh yeah,
Correct.
they've got an internal clock inside those bulbs, just like your spring daffodils and tulips and things. They know what they're doing as far as what the temperatures in
I'm
the
glad
soils are.
they know what they're doing.
They do.
They have a better
They help
chance
us out
now.
a lot.
See, I took the Master Gardener class so that I learned why I'm killing things.
Yeah.
So now I know why I kill my plants instead of just why they're dying on their own.
And it's a really good course. If you're new to the area, or if you just maybe at the point in your life where you want to start spending more time out in the garden as a bigger hobby, you're maybe working less or whatever. It's designed for people that work during the day. It's an evening class, one night a week, for about 14 weeks. Starts up in the wintertime and takes you up into the early spring.
Right, they're in about the third week of the class. So if you think you may be interested in the future about the Master Gardener's class, go ahead and call the extension agency here in town and put your name on a list, and they will remind you next year. There is a cost to take the class. It's a nominal cost. It's like 14 weeks, as she said, of class, and they'll talk about vegetables. They'll talk about trees, shrubs, perennials, annuals,
Small fruits, lawn
yeah.
care, insect and disease. We did composting, native plants. There's a
and
different
then
topic every week.
how the plants work,
Some
and,
plant biology and botany.
They had also vermiculture, or finding out how to make worms work for you. I got that name right, didn't it?
Yes, you
Yes,
did.
Yeah.
Vermiculture. Kim calls it wormiculture. But it's
Wormiculture. That's why I say Kim
vermiculture.
calls it wormiculture, right? And then composting and
And they work in conjunction with each other.
how to treat your soil and things of that nature. And it's a very interesting course. It also has how to deal with insects and wildlife problems too. And
Correct.
I've living down
That's
on
an
the south
interesting- That's
end.
an interesting night of class.
Yeah, I've had to learn a lot more about wildlife since they started doing the work down during Exit 20. I live in that area, so as they killed habitat down through there, those animals came to my house.
Yeah, they've-
Lots
Stand
of
in our
them.
backyard and stare at us.
Yeah, they've
Yes.
widened that area quite a
Yeah,
bit.
so
Yeah.
I didn't.
Well,
mi-
they've taken down that whole mountain there.
I didn't mind the
or-
bobcat or the raccoons. I haven't really minded the possums.
Is it the little critters that are bothering you?
The skunks didn't really bother me until the groundhog started digging holes under my house, and then the
Fox and skunks
the
moved.
skunks thought that was a good place to live.
Mm.
So we've had to get some professionally trapping areas to get skunks and groundhogs out of the area, and so we also have fox in the area, like I say, and bobcats. We knew the bobcats were there because of the tracks in the snow. You won't see them during the day. So, but that's very interesting. The laws concerning all that. So, if you want to become a master gardener, like I say, it's a 14-week class, about 3 hours on a different nights. I think it's on Monday nights this year, and I took mine was on Thursday nights.
And I think I took it on a Tuesday night. So
Yeah. So you could do that, and the first thing, I know you're going to know the answer. If you're got a garden at home, say it's a half-acre garden, which would be a big garden for a home, but even a smaller thing, what should be the very first thing they do to find out if that's a good garden spot, or what to do to make it better?
Soil testing.
yeah,
Yeah,
I knew you'd get that one, Ricky.
Definitely, that would be get a soil test to determine what you need to amend that garden with to make it productive.
Now, what you need to do, just go by the Agricultural Extension Agency office there on Church Street. Is it Church? That's
Yeah,
Church Street.
95 Church Street.
95 Church Street. Go in, and it's a small package that they'll give you, and they'll give you instructions how to collect the dirt. Send it to dry. It has to be dried, so make sure you send dry dirt. If not, let it dry. Don't microwave it.
And take it from several different areas
Yeah,
in the garden
right.
or the lawn. If you're worried about your lawn care, you want to take
And
it
if
from
you-
different places.
And you put the dirt in the package thing. There is a small charge. It's $7 to get you a soil sample. This time of year, it comes back rather quickly. If you wait to April and May, when everybody in the world starts gardening, you will wait a little longer. So if you can do that, basically you'll take from all different corners. Just take different samples. It's not a huge sample either. You take small samples from each of that, and and I always try to say when we do these gardening plants is that the plants do not eat dirt
Right.
or soil.
No.
They eat what's in the soil, the nutrients in there, and the only way to improve that is to put some kind of organic material, and we'll talk about how you can treat your gardens to do that, or you put chemicals, fertilizer in
Yeah,
it.
they're
So-
synthetic fertilizers
Right.
that some people are comfortable with. They're long lasting, they're slow release, whereas the organic stuff is going to be utilized a little bit quicker.
Right. And organic is kitchen scraps, no meats, leaves. Every year if you rake up all your leaves and you just burn them and you have a garden, go throw them on top of the garden. And if you got a tiller, turn them in under. And when you come back, and every year you do that, you'll see that soil become richer and richer and darker, and it will be, and you'll see your crops increase too.
Yeah, that's how Mother Nature intended it, that the trees drop their leaves, the leaves lay on the soil, they decompose with the help of the insects and the moisture and time. And
Go into the forest somewhere where, it's and the leaves have laid there for 3 or 4 years, and dig down underneath those leaves and just look how rich that soil is in the forest. It's unbelievable what difference that will be. So right now, what would be the number one thing besides the soil test that you guys would do to get ready to garden coming up in, I always think April 1st is a target date maybe to start planting, according to how the temperatures come. If the ground's got warm, April 1st, May 1st is probably
our last
definite.
frost date is supposed to be tax day or around April 15th.
Right.
But Mother Nature does decide that the backs of your seed packets, if you've got seeds, or the tags on your seedlings, if you're going out and getting the little plant starts from the nurseries, will tell you the temperatures or the timing, and they'll also tell you how long it takes for the fruit to mature, how tall the fruit is, how tall the plant's going to be, how much the spacing is, so you don't put your tomatoes too close together and crowd them in, or plant your corn too close. Sometimes it'll suggest which plants you want to plant with other plants for different reasons. Companion planting, they call that.
Yeah, like I say, the first thing would be soil testing, and then you could start doing that. You just bring your dirt, soil in, and your dirt, if it don't have anything in it, it's probably dirt. If it needs
Dirt or clay.
yeah, and in this area, the soil levels here are only 4-6 inches.
Correct.
So they're not a great depth here, and just because of the nature of where we live, unless you live on the river bottom, where the soil has been washed into there, or in some cases it's been washed away.
And even still, it doesn't have the nutrients that we need in it.
So, and also you can go on the internet and find a lot of these answers to these questions. But let me warn you, if you go on there and you read the internet, and it's a internet from Wisconsin, and they're telling you how to plant things, you may want to realize is that Wisconsin soil and Tennessee soil, weather and climate is going to be different. So you would want to find something that's more related to Tennessee. And the University of Tennessee has a great site, Tennessee State University, which are both part of the agricultural extension program in the state of Tennessee. Right. You can go to their websites or find something more related to Tennessee, or make sure you put it in planting in Tennessee.
Yeah, we're in Zone 7 or 7B. That information is also going to be on the
seed packages.
The seed packages, and it's going to be on the little tags that come inside your seedlings, whether it happen to be flowers or vegetables or fruit trees or blueberries, whatever it is you happen to be planting.
Let me ask you a question. Is it better to start your own seeds? You can buy those little kits and sit in the windows, which I do. Or is it better to buy a plant that's already came from a nursery? And let's talk about the difference between the big box stores and more of a nursery type you have here. You want? Go ahead, Rick.
No.
That'd
be in a hurdle, man.
Oh,
I had just had something about the next step that I would take in
go ahead.
getting my garden ready. probably would do a cover crop if you're not planning on putting any fall. Early cool weather crops. Then I would sow my garden down in a cover crop, and then whenever you get ready to plant, till that in. That'd be organic nutrients for the at-earth soil.
Nitrogen in particular, those plants will add to the soil.
Could you use just like clover or mustard or greens, turnip greens?
Turnip greens, any kind of greens, clover, winter wheat. A lot of people can do winter wheats. There's several cover crops that you can plant. Just a lot of it based on what your soil needs. Mm-hmm. So if you need more nitrogen, you do more of the nitrogen-rich crops, and so that's one of the things I would do to prep my garden.
Good. And you should do that late fall too, as you sort of close your garden down. If you're not growing a winter crop,
correct,
you could go ahead and sow it all, and like say leaves, the whole thing helps.
Right.
So, what about starting plant or buying plants?
I think there's going to be several factors to consider, some being economic. It's going to be more economic to buy a package of seeds for $1.29, and you have enough seeds in there to do hundreds of plants potentially. Time is going to be a consideration. As far as the big box stores versus a smaller nursery, price again will be a little bit of a consideration. You may find a small difference in price of a 6-pack of tomato plants or lettuce plants or something like that. At a smaller store, they may be a little bit higher, and at a bigger store, they might be a little bit lower. Sometimes the quality may be different. We have trained horticulturists that work at a lot of the smaller stores. They're privately owned. The people there are more knowledgeable than if you go into a big box store and you ask the person in there and say, what do I do with my tomatoes? They may not have as much information as we do. If you're interested in doing something completely organic or completely non-GMO, which is a term that people are interested in these days, you get those types of questions answered at the smaller stores a little bit better. I'm not going to say that there's not somebody knowledgeable at a bigger store, but
so if they
just
want
finding that person. Yeah. If you happen to ask that person, there will be a really knowledgeable person there somewhere.
Someday during the week, several hours during the week, but you may not find them there.
That's right.
When you're shopping.
Yeah, if you're going to plant 6 tomato plants, it really don't matter how you do it, just as long as you could buy them somewhere and your luck is that. But I think the better quality plant that you start with. Another example is the Bradley Central High School here has their greenhouses, and they have a sale there, and they're very cooperative with the junior gardening program.
Yes,
and
sir.
Helped us a lot. But they start tomato plants and flowers and different things like that. And I have bought plants there. I have bought them at the big box stores. I went up to the Mennonite Farms and bought their. I never make my fruits quite as big and nice as they make. They're pretty amazing what they can do up there.
Time and effort.
And generations of skill goes into that.
And a lot of composting.
Correct.
They compost a lot of things up there. They do have horses. Needless to say. And
we have on occasion bought particular plants there, and then something different come up, a different kind of pepper. So you kind of have to.
And that happens. That
happens everywhere.
That
I'm
happens
sure.
in the flower world too. You buy a 6-pack.
Nice surprise
of a particular color of something, and you'll end up with one purple out of a tray of white.
I bought a plant of radishes, and it turned out to be something totally different. I still don't know what it was. It was a weed, I think, because
that happens too.
Yeah, he kept telling me, "Look at my radishes," and I'm thinking, I've never seen a radish that look like that.
Well, I thought there was a special kind. Then when I pulled
I
them
think
up,
it was some kind of real fancy lettuce. Is what I think it was.
Those fancy lettuces are weeds, is what I call them.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I don't like the weed salads. I like just a good iceberg lettuce salad. That's just me personally, but.
Yeah, there's some really pretty lettuces out there.
Yeah.
Different colors and textures and all ruffly, and you can make really pretty salads.
It's those big, that looks like weeds in my salad, though. I have trouble with that. But that's just personally, Some people eat liver, some don't, so. But,
correct.
What plant do you think grows the best here in Bradley County, right here in this region? What can everybody grow? Even including me. What could I grow See, like I say, I know what why I kill them now. But what would be the best thing that you grow here? Tomatoes?
No, I would not pick tomatoes as an easiest plant. They have a lot of disease problems.
Yes,
as
they
far,
do.
Different kinds of spots and wilts and different pathogens that infect tomatoes. You have to be really clean with tomatoes.
I got all that stuff done last year. Beautiful tomatoes. Ants got my tomatoes.
Ants.
Yes, you'd go out there and there'd be a beautiful red tomato, and you'd take it off the vine and start walking to the house, and there's a little tiny hole there that 100 ants have come out and bit me on the hand now. And that was my problem. The year before that, squirrels decided they like my tomatoes.
So what grows here well?
I think it just depends on the area. At my house, I can grow beautiful squash. Cross town, at my mother-in-law's, she can grow beautiful squash plants, but no squash.
Mm-hmm.
Something like okra. I mean, hardly anybody can go wrong with okra. Okra grows like crazy.
I've had problems growing okra.
Beans are another one that's really, really reliable. I mean, you drop a bean seed on the ground and it's going to germinate whether you've even planted it or not.
What about, I can grow habaneros.
Peppers are really reliable as long as you're doing them in the heat of the summer.
Mm-hmm.
They can
Right.
take the heat. They do not have insect and disease problems like the tomatoes do. Peppers are really pretty reliable and pretty no nonsense. You could even grow them in a container. So
We grow a lot of bell peppers in containers and chop them up and still using them out of the freezer.
There's all kinds of commercial crops they grow here. We used to grow a lot of strawberries.
Right. Oh, Bradley County was
And-
a huge strawberry producers.
I have a strawberry bed at home, plus we have one at the juvenile center, and they do really well here.
Mhm.
But with strawberries, there's different growing seasons for those, so you got to watch what you're planting.
and
What
there's
might
and there's
grow in
critters
Michigan might not grow here in Tennessee.
and the critters. We had to cover our strawberries with netting because the birds and critters were getting the strawberries before we could. Because we're only up there one night a week. We're up there once a week for several hours, and when we weren't there tending to it, somebody else would come and steal our
Unbelievable
strawberries.
crops there. The fall crops were really bok choy.
Oh yeah.
Was that not just a huge?
We
Tell
had
them about those turnips, man.
we had a turnip that the class grew in the fall, and when we pulled it up, the biggest one was 21 and a half inches around.
Yes.
Wow.
And we had like 5 of them that were
They were over 12 inches. All
Right.
those big ones were.
Ricky, tell everyone about the greenhouse there and what the plans are for it this year.
Okay. Well, the plans for the greenhouse.
Are you
Our-
just still really excited about that greenhouse?
Yes.
The new crop of kids hasn't seen it yet. They'll see it this week.
Right. Well, because due to the weather, we just started our class. We're actually a week behind starting our new junior master gardener class at the juvenile center. So they didn't get to go out and see the greenhouse.
The weather was not good, and without having daylight savings time, it gets dark up there too early.
But we did get last year in our fall class, we was able to get a grant through the Volunteer Electric Corporation for a small greenhouse. It's only an 8 by 12. But this right here greenhouse, the plans are for our kids to start plants in little trays, grow those plants from seeds to maturity, so they're picking fruit from it. And we're going to use that greenhouse to have our plants so we can start our own plants. We're still planning on getting some of our plants from other nurseries like the Bradley Central because they're always been really good. But we want the kids to see, that they can take seeds and make something beautiful grow from
And
it.
they did this past Tuesday. We did plant the little trays. Each child had a little tray of 12 little peat pots, and you moistened this peat pot and you stuck the seed down in there, and we put them on the windowsills, and we'll check on them this Tuesday when we're up
Ricky,
there.
if someone's interested in having their own greenhouse, where did that one come? I know where the money it came from and stuff, but where did you order it from?
That comes from Global Industries.
Okay.
On
the internet.
And on the internet, yes. That was actually a company recommended by the AGA, one of their extension agency. Patrick Sweat recommended that type of greenhouse. So, I did a little bit of research on it after he recommended it, and then we purchased one.
I tell you, it would be, if you have a home garden, this would be a great little thing to put in your. We're not advertising for Global. If they want to sponsor us, we'll be glad to sponsor the program. But we don't have any sponsors for this program. This is just volunteer stuff. I mean, you folks do this all volunteer.
Yes.
And we really do appreciate that. And I've become involved with the junior gardener program there. And I sit and just watch a lot and learn. I learn a lot during those programs too, because they're talking about things. I go,
Ricky, how can the community help? I mean, a $5 donation would go a long way.
Correct.
And how can they do that?
Well, they can do it several different ways. If they're wanting to do specifically for the Junior Master Gardener program,
That's what I'm talking about.
they can just contact the Ag Extension Agency, and or our Master Gardener program, Miss Sharp here, and they can just make a donation to the our Master Gardener program, and that they set that money aside just for the juvenile.
Yeah, we have.
They could go
we
by
have that in
the
our
Agricultural Extension Agency and see the secretary there, Mrs. Bunch.
Correct.
And she would be glad to take a cash or check, I'm sure, and just make sure that it's for the junior gardeners.
Correct.
And that would help a lot because you guys have no funding.
Right.
Correct.
They just fly by the seat of their pants is what they do.
They do it in raised beds, and sometimes they have to buy soil, and we do have people.
Well,
I know Clayton
helps us a
Beatty
lot in
has
that
been,
department.
and the soil mix he brought in last year, it grows.
Oh yeah, that's
mean,
awesome.
Don't
stuff.
we have good neighbors
Yes.
in
Yes,
Bradley
we do.
County?
He's helped us out every
Yeah.
semester that we've had the class, and this will be like our 5th semester, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, he's been a great help getting the beds where they need to be, because we started out with pretty much chert.
on
that
top of
place
that
is-
hill,
That
yes.
place is just a rock.
And that Johnson grass that's grown in some of those beds. Oh my goodness.
Right.
Well, for the junior, basically these are young men and young women who have got into some type of problems, probably their first offense, and the judge gave them an option. You can go to jail,
Juvenile jail.
or you can go and participate in this program and graduate from this program, and then your penalty, that will be your penalty. Now, some kids think it is a penalty when they come and have to do it.
Initially, they're a little resistant, but they
Some-
usually come around.
Most by the end of it are involved in it, and some of them get extremely interested in it. Surprisingly, I think you said a lot of the kids don't know where carrots come from. They have no idea that they thought they come from Walmart, or they don't grow in the ground. They're amazed that their crops grow in the ground and then some on top of plants.
Yeah, we have a lesson
Correct.
where we tell the kids what part of the plant is the edible part, whether it's the root or the fruit or the leaves, and they get tripped up a little bit by some of them. Which part of the plant is the part that you actually eat?
Correct.
They're not exactly sure.
So
On
many
another
kids
unique-
think
Well,
peanuts
we
grow
just
on a
did-
tree.
House plants related to a hamburger.
Yes,
We just did that
I thought
lesson.
that was a great lesson too,
Yeah.
and they were able to take it all back to plants.
Well, even
Yeah. The hamburger patty. Well,
you
the-
couldn't
comes
make
from the
that without
cow
plants.
and got to have them
Well,
plants to feed
yeah.
that.
Correct.
That's a great lesson.
Yes, it really is. So, but these kids come in and do very well. The kids who've graduated the program there, they've had very, very few that have returned to the juvenile court system. You're not 100%.
Oh, to see the pride on the families' faces when they
yes.
graduate's amazing. Because, these are kids who maybe have not always made good choices, and then all of a sudden they've made this good choice and they participated, and they could stand there and tell you about that cabbage, and they could tell you about that pumpkin, and they
And they take that stuff home with them at the end of the
Oh, yeah.
evenings.
Oh, yeah.
They take home bags of tomatoes and peppers.
and with pride they hand you a squash and say, "Here, would you like this?" Yes, I would.
Well, we have one young man who enjoyed it enough last fall that he's come back and actually is helping mentor this new group. So we've touched
Now, that's
one
success.
person.
That's success
So-
right there.
So I take pride in that he is coming back this group session, and he is helping out with the kids.
He'll work alongside the other students, and
That's good.
They can more or less be on his level, whereas us as adults, I mean, it's harder to.
And the Master Gardeners Organization, which is a statewide organization, this once again, this is a UT and Tennessee State University agricultural agencies, and our extension office agencies here on Church Street. The program's about 100 years old now, different names along the way, but they have a statewide meeting of the Master Gardeners Organization, and the local program here won an award for having an innovative program here, and it was the best in the state. So congratulations to the Master Gardeners for that, and congratulations to Judge Daniel Swafford for having the insight to do this. He thought it was an unbelievable ideal, and
whose idea was it?
I think it was a combination of Mike Arnold and Judge Swafford. I believe Mike Arnold was given a Master
Who
Gardener.
is Mike Arnold? Is he a Master Gardener?
Yes, he was one of the founders of our local Master Gardener agency.
Great
organization.
Idea. Fabulous.
And he was giving a speech, and Judge Swafford happened to be in the audience, and they got together afterwards talking about the juvenile court, and through their planning, this Junior Master Gardener program come about.
Excellent.
Because the judges always thought it was a good idea to have the kids down there in the soil and growing things. It's therapeutic, and it gives them something to do with their idle time.
Right. We had raised beds. They wasn't at the caliber they were now. We did do some stuff with the kids, but when the Master Gardeners come, but made it more of an educational
that
combination. Really expanded the beds, what we're doing. I mean, it's just grown dramatically.
Yeah, we brought a lot of knowledge and
I say any of those kids who go to one of the big box stores and applies for a job can put that down as a talent.
Well,
yes.
Even if they're just watering plants, it's still a talent.
It's
training.
a 1 hour classroom and then 1 hour practical out in the garden when it was a rainstorm the other night, and then it got dark no more when we started.
That doesn't hardly describe it.
Well, they still got to play with the plants because they get to sow seeds. So even if it rains, they do something dealing with gardens.
So when they walk in this week, will there be little sprouts there? We
Hopefully.
We
some
hope.
of them may.
Some of them will. Some of them take longer. I mean, there are some seeds that germinate.
I just wanted them to see, that growth.
Oh, when that first growth come out, it'll be and
they're so tiny and frail looking, you think that thing will never grow. That'll be good for them.
Last year they also did a one where they took planters and they put good and bad environment in them. Like they poured oils and alcohols and different things.
Different types of toxic
and
things.
And to see which one of them grew plants and which didn't. Well, of course, some of them we knew they weren't going to do that.
And the kids knew the one with the motor oil, it wasn't going to do so well.
And they all had their own worm box and had to feed their worms every week.
Yeah, we did.
That was interesting to watch the young ladies go, oh my gosh, I'm playing with worms.
and there's more worms in here than there were 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
And they're bigger.
Yeah. So it was, and what they had fed them had now turned into a dark, rich soil too. And it was pretty amazing to do that. Dave Hopper, one of our members of the thing, does a lot of this, and
worms are important.
It's if you have a dark, wet basement, you got a place to grow worms.
Do they learn about the bees too? Do you do bees?
The bees are in the insect lesson. I teach the insect lesson this semester.
That is so important.
It'll be in April, and we do talk about how important the insects are for pollination and things like that.
I wanted to talk about once again, if you have any questions about your garden, trees, shrubs, grass, fruits, vegetables, anything, give us a call. And if we don't know the answer, we'll take your name and we will get you answered, because one of the Master Gardeners or one of the extension agents can answer about any questions you have. If you're having an insect problem this year, collect some of the insects, bring them by the department down there, the Egg Center, and they can look at them, because we can discover different type of insects that have been brought in here. When the plants are shipped in here, you may find something from a big box store. You have a new critter come to the area, and the next thing you know, we have an infestation of type of insects we've never seen before. And going back to the donations, it is important that you donate to us. $5-10. Right now, Rick, I know you're trying to buy a heater and a
Correct.
little automatic fan system for the top of the greenhouse, so that when it gets extremely hot this summer, you do have to cool them down a little bit, because that glass enclosure will get even too hot.
How much will that whole thing cost, Rick?
Actually, Stephen Rogers has been working on the cost of that, so I
Okay.
haven't. I know that we're looking at it. I haven't really been.
I mean, are we talking a few $100s or more than that?
We're probably
Yeah,
200 or less.
This
easy.
includes a heater that when it does get extremely cold, we keep the plants a little warmer.
Correct.
And then in the summertime, you got to cool them off, and basically it has an automatic vent system, and a little fan would come up. These are not huge things, because
Right.
this is not a huge greenhouse.
Right.
We had to build it up so Dave Hopper and I could walk inside of it. It would not have been the tallest thing.
And
Faith didn't have any problem walking in and
No,
out.
no problem at all.
Yeah.
during the sunshine days, the heat is not an issue. It's at night when it cools down, keeping the plants, especially with this possible frost or freeze. Those are the days that you got to really watch about the heat getting too cold. And then once this time of year goes away and it starts getting hotter on days, then you're looking at
Sure.
too much heat. So running a greenhouse, it's a learning experience for me, as far as too cold, too hot.
If it's
You gotta keep
100
them
degrees
monitored.
outside, which we have days like that, you definitely have to cool the greenhouse down. It's
Correct.
got to have some fans circulating the air in and out. So,
Faith, what kind of plants do you guys have at the the garden center where you work? I mean, are there anything just really interesting coming in?
Oh yeah, we every year we try to expand and put some new things in. So and every year there's new varieties of every cultivar of daylilies and hostas and coral bells.
I like those perennials much better than
Yes.
planting and replanting all the time.
So every year there's a new variety coming out. So and we always try to have those. There's a new variety of rose bush that comes out every year. Probably several. Each rose company will have their new edition of roses. A couple of years ago was a ketchup and mustard. It was a red rose with yellow
Oh, fun.
interior.
And where is that nursery at?
We are on Main Street in Ooltewah, which is in Hamilton County, right off of Lee Highway. Turn at the intersection where the
BP's,
BP,
yeah, the BP
where
is.
BP and BB&T
it's
Bank
located
is.
in the old James County area.
And it's just past the Sonic
Yep,
there,
it's right
and
past Sonic.
and it's like a field trip going there because they have so
Oh, Yeah.
many interesting things
we
to look
sell,
at.
We sell everything from straw to sod, to fruit trees to large trees to the tiniest. We sell the bulbs, we sell the seeds, the fertilizers, rocks, sand, and we provide the services of maintenance and installation. We've got full landscape crews. that do
Installation,
that.
that's a good thing.
Deliveries, and if you bring in your pictures and measurements of your yard that you want landscaped, we can help you decide what plants to put in what places and draw little sketches out of where you should put your shrubbery and things like that.
And if you have questions about agricultural needs, big farm, small farm, the lawn in your front yard, leaves on your tree dying, you can call the Ag Center. The Extension Agency here. Let's see if I get the number right. 728-7002.
Yes.
Wow. Isn't that great?
We're
Except
we're
to
getting better
7
at that.
digits.
We're getting better at that.
728-7002. Write that down. Call the Agricultural Extension Agency here, which is the UT Tennessee State University Agricultural Center here, agency, or I should say agency. Kim Frady is our extension agency, and then he has an assistant, and Patrick Sweat.
Well, Patrick's an agent also.
Yes.
Now, Patrick's also doing other classes.
What's he doing?
So they do all,
they
kind-
are.
all kinds of classes
That
throughout
profitable
the years.
agriculture classes that he
Yes.
started up. He'll do them again in the fall too, but he's got a set going
now,
on right now
is there something going on today?
at the mall.
Tell us about that, Faith.
This is Agricultural Awareness Month, and so they've got several different activities set up. The one that pertains to the Master Gardeners the most is going to be at Bradley Square Mall today and tomorrow. Patrick will be there, and several of our Master Gardener personnel will be there to answer questions, and they could take down your name if you wanted to join those classes or sign up for the classes that Patrick's teaching, which are, he's calling them profitable agriculture, but he teaches one on fruit production, one on small livestock like chickens, things like that.
You know, people have 10 acres or 20 acres, and they say, hey, we want to grow some fruit trees.
Or smaller. I mean,
even smaller. You're right.
Blueberries, strawberries, something that they can generate some income or some revenue with.
Right.
I just want generate something to eat. I like to go out and pick it and eat it.
Yeah, this year that I'm going to get. You tell me something that when you have ants and insects on there, there's some kind of things you put at the top of the soil. What did you call that? It sort of has a little glass-like particles.
Oh yeah, the diatomaceous earth.
Yes.
And it works much better on things like slugs and snails and caterpillars, because it will, as they crawl across it, it will lacerate their little bodies, and it's a terrible way to die, but it's very effective, and it's organic. Diatomaceous earth.
Sack paddle or a hookworm? Is that what that?
That Satterback caterpillar. He's very pretty, but if you touch him, it hurts.
And he or she can eat a lot.
Yes.
In one day.
A whole lot. What kind of butterfly or moth does that become?
He becomes a luna moth, which is a really pretty large,
green one, huh?
iridescent. Yeah.
You know, we're in danger of losing the monarchs,
Yes.
which is hard to believe. As many millions of them that used to migrate to Mexico, their habitats were gone.
Yeah, and there's a couple of movements out there to try to replace some of the plants that they use for host plants to lay their baby eggs on or to feed on when the babies are young. And so if you get out there and plant some butterfly weeds, it's called tuberosa is the fancy name for it, but that's one of their best plants for host plant and for nectar plants.
Now, this Monday, call 728-7002 and ask about the soil kit, or just go by 95 Church Street and pick up a soil kit. It's just a small little box. It's be smaller than you think it is. It's not a huge box, but you go out into your yard if you're just wanting to get your grass growing better and dig in 3 or 4 or more places, get the dirt out. Make sure it's dry, mix all your little samples together and put it in the box, and then it'll have a sheet and it'll say, I want to grow tomatoes, what do I need to do? Or I want to grow grass, what do I want to do? If you know what type of grass, it might even help too.
Yeah, I think there's a form that comes with it.
There is.
You indicate which types of crops you want to be growing, and then it'll tell you what chemicals to add.
But if they have questions they need to ask today, they can be at the mall.
That's right. Sure.
If you happen to be out and about and want to stop by through there today or tomorrow.
And you can still call us here at 614-5553. We got a few more minutes before we leave here. I'd like to thank Rick and Faith for coming in today and starting to make it grow. Now, we're going to continue doing these classes. We don't know yet if we're going to do them every week for the next 3 or 4 weeks, or we're going to do this once a month. Mm-hmm. The club will make that decision. And I told them I do. Whoop will work with you in any way that we can, me being in the Master Gardener. And also one other thing about the Master Gardeners after this call. Good morning, you're live on Make It Grow.
Ron?
Yes.
This is Doyle Farmer.
Hey, Doyle, how are you, sir?
All righty. Enjoying your show.
Well, thank you.
A couple of things about growing plants. People need to be aware of the sunlight.
Yeah.
It's hard to grow plants in the shade, and I see people that, they have the garden up against a tree line.
Mm-hmm. But it makes that hoeing so much cooler, Doyle.
That won't work. And then another thing, our soil tends to be acid, so I keep a bag of white lime around, and I put some of it around my plants periodically. Seems to help a lot. So, just a couple of tips.
Yeah. Now, your buddy down there in McDonald, that old Roark boy, Kenneth.
Kenneth?
He grows a pretty garden, doesn't he?
Kenneth Roark is a farmer. He grew up on a farm. His dad, Charles Roark,
yes,
was a farmer down there, and he got Kenneth out of the bed early. There was no sleeping late on Saturday. They kept all the weeds out of the garden, and they hauled the hay. Kenneth's a good guy. He's helping me with a Lee Cemetery now, and I really appreciate him.
Like I say, Kenneth is a true, grew up, I wish I'd listened to my grandfather and watched him graft roses and all the things he did, and his gardens and his lines were perfectly straight, and he actually had crops on everything. So that's pretty amazing. I wish I'd listened, and but Kenneth Roark is he's a gardener. He's a really good gardener.
He's a good guy. He'd be a good one to come into a Master Garden program and talk sometime just about growing potatoes.
I'll assure you that
really good.
I'm sure he could help us all.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Doyle. Bye-bye. Doyle Palmer, a good friend of ours used to be at Bradley High School and retired from there now. Master Gardeners, talk about that real quick. The class has already started this year, so you're late for this one. Call the extension agency and say, I would like to take the program. Two things you can do. Master Gardener, you can go through the class and learn a lot about your growing. You do not have to get involved in the Master Gardener organization. It's you becoming Master Gardener, then it qualifies you to become a member of the club or organization they have here. And we would like for you to come in and be involved in that, because they do things like they actually help the extension agency too. They may be volunteering there, or sometimes when there's a lot of things going on, the agents may actually call a Master Gardener and says, can you go help us at this house? And say, if a Master Gardener don't know the answer, or if Kim doesn't know the answer, they will get back with you. They've got unbelievable resources being involved with the University of Tennessee, Tennessee State University, unbelievable resources that we can have to help you, like say, solve your problem of your grass or your roses are dying, or you got a tree in the backyard and one side of it's dead and the other side's growing. There's people can give you an answer to that. Any final thing, Faith?
I was just thinking that this is probably the right time of year to get out and prune your rose bushes if you hadn't. Put down crabgrass preventer, as usually they say when the forsythia starts to bloom, that's a good time to put down your crabgrass preventers. If you were going to do that, you probably don't want to overseed at that time, because there's an herbicide in that crabgrass preventer that would actually inhibit your grass seed from coming up. The only grass seeds you'd be sowing right now would be the fescues, because that's a cool season grass. Don't even think about the Bermudas or the zoysias right now, because they're still dormant because it's still too cold. Pruning your ornamental grasses, different things like that you should be doing to get ready for spring.
Is there a grass that grows like about 1.5 inches tall and you never mow it and it stays perfectly green all the time? If we could invent that, we could make some money, Faith.
Yes, we could.
Yeah.
And some people say they have a problem with moss. Moss is usually because you don't have enough sunlight in your area, so you maybe want to thin some trees in that area, or just amend your soil a little bit to get lawn to grow in those types of areas.
If you have shade, you have one problem. If you have too much sunlight, you have another. Any
Correct.
Final thing, Rick?
I think we pretty much covered most everything I have on my list.
All right. Well, folks, hey, we'll see you next week here, or maybe a month from now, to do that. But what we want to do is be listening in. We'll tell you on Facebook that it's coming. We'll be running spots here on Whoop, also to inform you when those shows will be. And please call us with your questions and problems, and we'll be glad to try to solve those. And hopefully we give you some education along the way. Folks, hey, we'll see you here back in a few minutes when we start Old Town Cleveland at 10 o'clock. We'll see you later, folks.
Check into cash. The cash you need is closer than you think.
Get an auto title loan today for up to $2,500 at Check Into Cash.
You drive home with the cash in your pocket.
Visit